the words of my mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. I would like to express my gratitude to the rector, Father Ian, for inviting me to stand in this pulpit and deliver a message to this church of St. Thomas the Apostle. In the same way, I appreciate my being here, as I remember also the bishop, because if he did not give the permission, I wouldn't be able to speak here in his diocese. So I'm really grateful to the bishop. Today, as you know, is a Father's Day. And all of us who are fathers should be really proud. And even if we are not fathers, we are all born by fathers and mothers. So we are obliged to say thank you to our fathers. And I think we better clap for them. I knew my father, for instance. He didn't live when I was born for a long time. He passed away when I was 12. But I appreciated my father. I loved my father. And I remember him with respect. So we should really respect our parents. Because there is that commandment, that respect your father and mother, so that even your days may be prolonged in this world. So we must thank God for our parents, through whom God brought us into this world. In the Old Testament, which I've heard, we have heard of one father whom I think, even in spirit, is very happy. Jesse. Jesse was so blessed that his youngest son, David, was anointed king of Israel. You may have your sons, your daughters, in high positions. And for that, you should thank God. Even those who are not even in very high positions, they are employed in one way or another. We should be grateful for what they are doing. But when you start working and you're a parent, you would like your son or daughter to do well. But I've been asking myself, what makes someone do well in life? The example of David is very important. This young man obeyed not only his parents, but he also obeyed God. Well, you may wonder how we can discover this. Of course, when you look through the history of David, you can see how he obeyed and loved God in spite of many pitfalls. He had a lot of weaknesses, like many of us have. But always he went back to his God and said, sorry, I have no other way to go. I think that's a wonderful lesson for people who want to succeed in life. To say sorry for the mistakes we made. And when you listen to this psalm of today, there are some very important words where it is said, a number of people trust in their own war chariots, horses, but I will trust in the Lord. This is the words which could be words of David. Of course, he had weapons. He had horses. But all these to him were not so important. What was important was to trust in the power of the Lord. In our day, we are being tempted because nations have amassed a lot of weapons, very powerful weapons, nuclear weapons. And sometimes they forget that without God, we cannot survive. Without God, we can destroy ourselves. And that the most powerful weapon is love. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. This is a very important weapon. And if we use this weapon, this world will become a paradise. Nuclear weapons will not solve our problems. It is love. It is the power of God. When we think of our fathers, we also have to go to churches. The church is like a father. And that's why a number of our priests, we can call him Father. Father Ian. Yeah, he's a father. And we have to respect him. But that power of that father should be derived from God, from love. Unfortunately, forgive us as a church, because I'm one of the leaders of the church. I served as a diocesan bishop for 24 years. Then I retired because I was of a ripe age. But sometimes we forget that the power which God has given us is to care and love for his folk, for his people. And we want to use force. But if we want to really be leaders, we need to use the weapon of love, care, compassion. I'm afraid to tell you this story. At the moment, many of us from Uganda, myself in particular, are worried because just recently, our leaders in the church urged the government to expedite the passing of anti-homosexuality bill, which many of us call kill gay bill. Well, they have reasons. But the reasons, when you think about them, they are not showing love to the gay or LGBT people. Because for me, I've been counseling for over 10 years and coming very close to LGBT people. I understand they are real people created by God like heterosexuals. So if you command a bill to eliminate them, I think you are against the creation of God. God's ways are not our ways. Sometimes we forget. We forget that God is revealing things. Some things have been hidden, but they come up, and we have to accept it. There was a time when people said that the earth, the sun goes around the earth. And the churches were convinced. And if you said otherwise, you could be even executed. But I think we have to accept new discoveries. Research shows that LGBT people are God's creation. So I believe if we are going to be leaders, we have to listen to the truths which appear now and then, which may be new. We cannot say, as it was, is now, and ever shall be. God gave us a mind. And Anselm is one of my favorite theologians. Anselm said, faith seeks understanding. We should try to understand. We should reason. So my appeal, definitely, to even my leaders in the church, is to try and listen to more and more new discoveries. They are there. If you read, if you do research, things which we didn't know before, then we can be compassionate. Compassion is very important. We have to be open, then listen, and then feel with someone and act to rescue the one in need, rather than destroying the other person. So there is hope, though. In spite of all this, for me, I say, all things work for good for those who love God. So even things seem very dark, things will become okay as time goes on. By education, one way is by education. We need to be educated. There's one book which I read, and I'm still reading, and I like that book. 12 Steps to a Compassionate Life. By, who knows that book? Who has heard of that book? 12 Steps to a Compassionate Life. Who has heard of it? Just put up your hand. I'm not going to ask you what you have read. So he has seen that book. It is by Karen Armstrong. It's a wonderful book. because it has helped me even to understand St. Paul when he talks about new creation, as we have heard in today's epistle, that when we are in Christ, we are a new creation. Potentially, every one of us is a new creation. In us, we have two very important components we have in our brain. There may be others. I'm not a biologist, but I've learned these very helpful ones. We have a part called the old brain. The old brain is interested in feeding. We must feed. The old brain is interested in fighting our enemies. Yes. The old brain is interested in fleeing, run away if the enemy is too strong. The old brain is interested in love, romance, sex, and all that. We need all these. They're okay. But if we limit ourselves there, we are very selfish. We become very selfish. But God gave us another part. As human beings, I don't say all the brain is bad. We need it. But we must balance it with the new brain. The new brain is a part where you need to be considerate, compassionate, have this golden rule called golden rule, loving everyone, even your enemy. It is not easy, but it is there. I usually say you can see this electric power light here. It is able to burn or to see this light because it was switched on. If you switch off, you won't have this light. All of us have the new brain. But very often we don't like to switch it on. We don't. So we remain very selfish, very vigilant, very what? And the world becomes a very difficult place to live in. So, my friends, as I go back also to Uganda, I usually want to have a dialogue with the leaders. And so we need to use more and more of our new brain to be compassionate. So we need your prayers. We need your prayers. And if necessary, we need to fast, pray and fast. Otherwise, people are going to destroy themselves. People run away from Uganda. Yeah. Because LGBT people are real people. They are there. They are threatened. Of course, some will die. You have seen this film, Mikuchu? Some of you, Mikuchu. People will die. Well, our friend, that film which we saw, David Kato died in very mysterious circumstances. But you see what he stood for the rights of all human beings. So we need to use our new brain to survive. Not only in Uganda, but all over the world. When I see people fighting, killing each other, what do we call terrorists and all that, the old brain is in play. Terrible. I would like to conclude by saying that we have started organizations where we want to have people live together, especially when we talk about human sexuality. the gay and straight people should learn to live together. And where I live, there is a center called St. Paul's Reconciliation and Equality Center, which is a gay, straight organization, helping people who are having HIV/AIDS, people who are really living in abject poverty, single mothers, children who are being mistreated, and trying to help people to have their own projects where they can uplift their standards. And also trying to educate people, because misinformation and prejudice are usually caused by being ignorant. We need to be more educated. So we have this program, and I've got my partner here in that work. If you don't mind, Albert, could you stand up, please? Albert is almost the same mind, because his foundation is in partnership. St. Paul's Foundation is based in San Diego. Mine is in Uganda, Kampala. But we are working towards having people accepting each other in spite of our differences. Differences must remain. The good news is it doesn't matter whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, or a Buddhist, or whatever, you have the new brain. This is very good news. You have the new brain. The thing is, switch it on. Switch it on. So we need you to work with you. Please help us. We need your help. We need your support. Solidarity. And I appeal to you, read that book. I want to meet that lady. I know she lives in England. I would like to meet her. 12 Steps to a Compassionate Life by Karen Armstrong. May God bless you. Thank you very much.